Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Queen's Comic Podcast. I'm Billy Bombs.
I'm Ian.
And welcome to the show. We're going to start off talking about our show in Brooklyn. We had one called The Brooklyn Invasion. It was a comic show. First time ever in this area, but it was fun as hell.
Held on Frost Street in a venue that's usually a wrestling space, isn't it?
Sometimes, but it's also a rental. It used to be a rave, used to be this, used to be that. We try to keep it on the down low, but you know what? That's what underground comic shows are all about.
Well, tens of people will hear about it through this podcast.
You say that, but I'm annoying. We'll get out there. How did you have fun selling books?
I did. I had a lot of fun selling books and talking to people. It was a really different sort of environment than the Queens one. There were a lot more people into indie and underground and oddball horror books and stuff, which is kind of my thing. So, you know, I told some of the other vendors I sold 10 copies of Swamp Thing for every single Spider-Man book I did.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah.
For Brooklyn, that's normal. They love different books, which is dope.
Mm-hmm. And when I showed up, I had almost 30 Richard Corbin books. And when I left, I had one.
Nice.
Yeah, I had people coming and just like buying all my Corbin stuff, every single underground book that I had, like every vintage underground book I had sold, and all my early Ninja Turtles stuff sold.
Yeah, that's a given.
Yep.
We have a new sponsor for the show called Action City Comics, and he told me he did Brooklyn Comic Con, which we're doing as well now. So you'll see us there. If you haven't met me yet, you can't unsee me. I'm like Beetlejuice. We'll be there. But he said everybody went nuts for his in underground comic, Ninja Turtles, and anything 90s toys related.
Oh, interesting. I didn't have like a lot of 90s toy related stuff, but
no, like that's why Power Rangers is huge.
I did sell some Power Rangers books.
Yeah. The fan base over there, you could totally tell, and it's so diverse. I love Brooklyn. Brooklyn is great. We have so many volunteers that are like young teenagers that want to come just to learn to do about comics. I'm like, yeah, come on. And I don't get that kind of enthusiasm in Queens.
No, it was, I want to say maybe like an artsier crowd.
Totally. The artists said they did phenomenal. People bought so much artwork.
Yeah, the Queens show's a little more old school in comparison. Which is good. I love that too. It's just a different vibe. Yeah,
well, that's why we call it the War Hall. You know, it's all like war veterans
it
and
is.
all the guys who dig. And I don't know if you ever seen this documentary called Adjust Your Tracking.
Yes.
All right, there's a line with this really big weirdo that says, but we were digging in the trenches looking through all that VHS. Like war veterans, I'm like, man, you're taking this shit too far. Yo, these are just collectibles. Enjoy.
Yeah.
But that's how a lot of old school comic collectors are, and I understand that, and I find it funny.
You know what my favorite part of the show was, though?
What?
You walking around handing out cans of White Claw and dancing like a lunatic.
Yeah, I kind of lost it after.
I didn't think you could move like
I can move. I'm from Queens, baby. I can move. That whole rock steady. You know what the funny part is? Yesterday was the birthday for a friend of mine who passed away, and he tattooed on his hands rock steady. So I told Ian about it. He's like, oh, you're going to become a ska guy?
You should. You could become a ska guy.
But in Queens, it was very popular to do that anyway. You know what I mean? Because Rocksteady...
Pick it up.
Yeah, no, not just ska, but Rocksteady's like a cool Queens thing for breakdancing. So that's why, for me, it's a little bit of a Queens thing. At the same time, it was a good tribute to my friend who had it tattooed on him as well.
Yeah, that is
but that's coming up soon, and I'll wait because it's right above my wrist, and I'm already in pain thinking about it.
I won't lie. When I was in college, I went through a ska phase. There's pictures out there to prove it.
Did you ever hear that joke about ska? About like it's like a kid when he orders mozzarella sticks at a restaurant. That's what ska is. And the thing is that makes me laugh about ska is everybody's so nice. But and then later on you find out like the biggest weirdos are into it. Like you're kind of a racist. They're like, no, I'm into ska. It's okay.
Oh, that makes it okay.
Yeah, I'm like, no, bro.
Yeah, if you listen to ska, you can use racial slurs.
Oh shit. But yeah, let's jump back into comics.
Yep.
The thing is that one day we're gonna end up doing a lot of music podcasts. I have a feeling
we could do it.
We knew so much. Real quick, if anybody ever looks up Metal Maniacs, I used to do a lot of hardcore reviews on YouTube. And I didn't realize nobody does that. Nobody cares about random bands. And the way I look at comics is the way I look at music. It's very hard to make it. So, like, recently we had Ian do an interview on our last podcast with somebody. You know how hard it is to put out a book and just keep putting it out?
If you haven't listened to that show yet, we interviewed Scott Rule about his brand new comic, Future Lux. So, it's out there. Listen to it. It's all about the creative process, really.
Yeah.
And, I mean... We talk about how he got into comics and the stuff, you know, like his gateway drugs and like the stuff that was an influence on him. But it's an hour long and 75% of it's about his creative process and just like how he felt about like putting his book out there and like dealing with imposter syndrome and like how the self-doubt that you have when you put something out there and don't get feedback on it immediately. I found it really interesting. Scott's a great guy. Support his book. We love him. And I said to him on the episode, which I know you haven't heard yet because you've been moving, that I don't know about how you feel about this idea, but I would love to get him back on and maybe another artist I know named Matt Allison and have the four of us do like a roundtable.
I'm totally down for that. We have a bigger studio now, so we can definitely set it up.
Well, this would be done over Zoom probably because Scott's in Arizona and Matt's in Chicago.
We could do it.
I haven't even asked Matt about this. He has no idea.
Don't worry. I know Matt in the Central who does a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, you're going to be on my show. He's like, I never agreed to this. I'm like, you're going to be on it.
All right. Well, if we can't get my Matt, we'll get your Matt.
Yeah,
we'll get a Matt.
He's actually become like a really big time dealer, picking up like Action Comics frequently.
Huh? All right.
I'll tell you more about that off the air. But here's the thing: if you get a chance to, please bookmark that show for any creative types out there, because we know we have a lot of artists listening to our show. It's good to listen to somebody who's already gone through the process and put out books, and then you understand what you're going through, and never feel like you're alone putting out a book.
It's inspiring.
Yes,
I found it inspiring, so I'm glad that I did it. Thanks again, Scott, and you're the man.
Yeah. So back to our show. It was great. Brooklyn was fun. A lot of comic artists have jumped on to be on it for the next show.
Good.
And the day before, we're doing a Brooklyn show, too, for St. Mark's Comics called Brooklyn Independent Comic Artist Show. And that's at Industry City. But you'll see a lot of photos of us we're going to post, a lot of new artists, a lot of new people. And those people are going to be our future vendors at our shows.
That's on the Saturday, right?
It's a Saturday.
Yeah.
They do once a year, Saturday, April, rain or shine, they're going to be outside. It's outside in Industry City. So comic books have plenty of place for everybody in it to do what you want. Just it's more maximum effort and how much work you're going to put into it. So if you're going to be there, you're going to see me or Ian. You're going to come.
I want to. Yeah.
Cool. You'll have fun. Some of these dudes are great. We'll go. We'll check it out. It'll be great. We'll be on a later podcast because we're still in March. And
let's make a point of hitting that show and then covering it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I would love to. And let's make some notes because there's so many great artists out there that you never get a chance to meet again.
And you know what? There's 1,000,001 comic book podcasts out there, and plenty of them to get way more listeners than we do. But there's not going to be a lot of people covering that show.
Yes.
And we want to support.
Totally. We're going to get bigger because we're crazy. We're
working on it.
Yeah. But here, let's get back onto comics.
Yep.
I heard you got a big Valentine's Day comic.
I got a big Valentine's Day comic. I got Jack Kirby's Dingbat Love, which is a collection from Tomorrow's Publishing. My wife is not only beautiful, but she has great taste in comic book related gifts, and she got this for me. And it is a collection of unpublished stories by Jack Kirby from the 70s.
Dude, that's amazing.
It's amazing.
But is it all love stories?
No, it's mostly love stories. So flip through it, and as you flip through it, I will kind of give you the lowdown on it. So essentially, at this period in Kirby's career in the 70s, he was working for DC. He'd left Marvel.
And one book is called Astro Chicks.
And he had done those magazines, right? Remember he did there was one about stories of the mob, and there was another one about the spirit world. So those magazines.
What's the spirit world called?
I think it's called the Spirit World.
Because I love the mob ones because they're like, I've been trying to get the EC. Like EC comes out with a collection of stuff from that they've published. I think Mob Stories falls under there. So I'm waiting to see if I can find it.
Mob Stories was DC.
That'd be even better if DC puts out. They're a little bit troublesome with trades, but
I don't know that it's ever been reprinted. It was magazine size. It's out there. It was the 70s.
I think IDW put it out.
I don't know. Maybe. At any rate, so they wanted him to do a few other magazines. So these are basically some of the ideas that he came up with that just didn't get finished, didn't get published. Most of the stories are finished. Like the penciling is done. Some of them were inked, some of them weren't. And so the first batch is called True Divorce.
Yeah, I saw that when I was going through it. A lot of them are unfinished, that True Divorce one.
Right.
They're not colored in.
No, they're not colored. They're just penciled. And so they're literally stories. Like there's like a divorce crypt keeper guy in this. He's not a crypt keeper, but he's the host, and he's like a marriage counselor basically. And so he kind of introduces each story, and then we see through Kirby's artwork the trials and tribulations that occurred in these relationships, and then ultimately how they wind up, whether they get divorced or not. It's a really bizarre concept, but it's interesting because it shows like the sexier side of some of Kirby's art.
Totally.
Yeah, and so like, you know, there's one story about a guy who kind of starts, you know, falling out with his wife and starts getting a little more intrigued by the female help who's running around in the bathing suit and stuff. And it's like Kirby doing good girl art, which, you know, not that he drew unattractive women, but it wasn't necessarily something you associate with him.
Oh, totally not.
And then, so the second one, which is probably the second part of the book, which is probably the most interesting, is called Soul Love.
Oh, and it's a more complete set.
Well, what happened was they had it colored.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's had it colored, and if you flip through the
so-
mock-up cover on this, all right.
Oh wow!
So these were let me rewind here. So the stories here were meant for a black audience. Kirby questioned why they had him writing it as like a middle-aged white Jewish dude, but they wanted him to do it. He tried to bring on some African American creators. They weren't having it, so it's all Kirby. And so he was writing basically romance stories for an adult black audience. So these were going to be magazines, not comic books, magazine size, sold at newsstands. And what Tomorrow's has done here is they've had the work colored in like a 70s style. If you flip back to the main cover, do you know who did that art? They made a mock-up cover for Soul Love #1 with like trade dress on it and everything. And there's a painting that's on the cover that is not done by Kirby.
No, this is like a high-end Jusco style artwork.
It's Alex Ross.
No joke.
Yeah. They had Alex Ross do the cover painting based on Kirby's sketch.
That's amazing.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Alex Ross can make anything magic.
He can. So yeah, they're interesting. They're very much a period of the period. They're very 70s. You just have to look at the titles like Fears of a Go-Go Girl.
Yeah, and then an article about Soul Train.
Right. Yeah. So they mocked this up to make it look like the magazine would have looked at. Like there's fake ads in it and stuff, but it's all done with like a very 70s touch.
What's really
see
nice
what I mean?
about
No, on this full page piece of a bunch of Go-Go girls, it's again Kirby doing the good girl art.
Yeah, but their sleeves for their gloves is Kirby-esque art style. And then if you look through the book from me flipping, even the characters, their clothing like somewhat are trying to match up with some of his style. Or
it's 100% his style. Like you can see it in every panel. It's just not the type of stuff you typically associate with his work. Even though he did do romance comics, before he became a superhero guy.
Oh, totally. But what's cool is that even if you see some of the furniture in the background, it's his style of artwork on the vase.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then you have, oh my God, a cigarette ad.
The fake cigarette ad, yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, that's hilarious. It's all mental.
Yep.
It's
coupe instead of cool.
Yeah. Oh my God, I have a cool ashtray somewhere in the office.
Nice.
This is great. Oh my God, the ad. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah, so there's the mob.
This is out as a trade.
Okay.
This one, In the Days of the Mob, this one's not. I want them both.
Okay. So what Billy's pointing at is a fake ad for the In the Days of the Mob magazine and the Spirit World magazines that Kirby actually did get published, and Black Love was supposed to be a sister publication to that, as was the romance.
This is wild. Oh, but this is amazing. They also have an article called "Equal Rights Aren't Wrong." Mm-hmm. But who's it supposed to be like written in the perspective of like who?
I'm not sure. I haven't finished.
You haven't got that yet.
No, I haven't finished. This
is a very dense comic. It's
is.
great. And now they have their own Night Nurse book.
Yep.
Like this is excellent. Oh, this is so much.
And the coloring, I mean, like it's on glossy paper because it's part of this beautiful hardcover that Tomorrow's put out. But the coloring definitely screams 70s as well. A lot of yellow and purple and green and red in terms of like the outfits that the different characters are wearing. This guy here has got those checkered slacks on.
Oh, the plaid pants.
Yeah, plaid pants.
Talk about Scott. Oh, dude, and then and it's great. It's a lot of like advertisements for like one's called Speak Out series.
Mm-hmm. That's what the magazines were called, was the Speak Out series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then everyone is equal at the ballot box, register to vote. I love this. This is brilliant.
Yeah, they did a really good job of making it feel like, a black interest magazine from the 70s. And Kirby was apparently pulling inspiration for this from, like, Jet.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Man. Wow. And then they have a sketch pages where it's all the artwork, but it's unfinished, where it reaches, but it's his sketch with writing on the bottom. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really cool. And some of this stuff, the originals are gone, so they were working from photocopies because Kirby apparently bought a photocopier before they were mainstream and made copies of a lot of his work. And so originals don't exist for some of this stuff, so the fact that Kirby was able to kind of reproduce his own work and hold it as archival material is obviously huge, because otherwise we wouldn't be seeing some of this stuff.
Holy smokes. Here's something I did not expect to see. Is like random covers of books. I know Manhunter, and I've seen Dingbats of Danger Street.
Yep.
But I've never seen the Green Team or Atlas.
I have the Atlas book and I have the Manhunter book. I don't have the Dingbats book. But the Dingbat stuff, which is the third and final portion of this book, is essentially like a kid gang.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you got to remember, he was a big fan of that from growing up.
Right.
He would write about people he knew.
Right.
Sandman.
He didn't know
Boy
Sandman.
Commandos. But the original Sandman.
Right, I know.
Well,
it was just funny the way you said, you wrote about people he knew growing up, and then you said Sandman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, he didn't know Sandman. No, but That's funny. You got me good on that. Oh my god, he did Welcome Back, Kotter.
Just the cover, I think.
But that's still cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, I love all this stuff, man. You have no idea how jealous I am right now.
It's still in
Oh my god!
if you want one, get one sooner rather than later because tomorrow's stuff doesn't. It tends to go out of print and then not come back because it's pretty niche.
It has a fold out here. I don't want to open yet.
No, you can open.
Oh my god! It's all the covers.
Yeah, if you open up the fold out, it is covers and then the 2-page spread.
Wow.
From
this is painful. That's racist. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Not everything ages well.
No, it does not age well. His Asian kid does not age well in this one. Oh, forget about it. And then on top of it, these Kirby-esque looking characters kill me. Mm-hmm. Like, somebody said that about some crazy looking wrestler one time. He looks like a Kirby character come to life, and he looks so hard looking.
I can see that, yeah. Big forehead, prominent eyebrows, really intense eyes.
Oh, forget about it. This is excellent.
Yeah, so I was very excited to get this.
This is a good pickup. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I'm getting hooked.
Yeah. Full credit where it's due. I didn't know this existed until Ed Piscor and Jim Rugg covered it on Cartoonist Kayfabe. And my wife happened to be watching the episode. Well, maybe not super watching the episode, but I was watching it and she was hearing me kind of geek out about it.
Was this the uncolored one that was spread in the other one? And this is the way it's colored?
Yeah, so the foldouts in this are pretty neat. If you want to see, Jack Kirby 2-page spreads big, and that's the best way to look at the Kirby 2-page spreads is big, then this book is for you. Because there's a bunch of foldouts here that allow you to do just that.
We gotta go to the Kirby Museum, guys. They have a show that I still haven't seen. We're gonna see them at Mocha. You're doing Mocha with me, right?
When is that?
April 1st. We'll be a full together.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll go.
Okay.
It's like $20. We'll get in.
Okay.
It gets packed.
Right.
A lot of people. It's a good artist show, but it's so packed with people just wanting to go out. Mm. That hopefully, like Mike Mignola's gonna be there. Punk Bagdurf is always there. No, Durf Backdurf. I keep calling him Punk Backdurf every show. Maybe somebody will throw a rock at Ed Piscor. It'll be great. Talk about a guy who takes a lot of flack for talking about books now. Mm-hmm. In the hand.
Yeah, so it's just a weird, wonderful, beautiful collection. And Tomorrow's always does a great job with their Kirby retrospectives, and it's a nice hardcover. They knocked it out of the park. Dude,
it needs to go in my collection of Kirby stuff.
You got to get your own copy.
I know. Well, you got to leave this room. Now you need to get In the Days of the Mob.
Yes.
And the other one you need to get. Now we both need Spirit World.
Yeah.
But let's see what comes out. Kirby did so much work. It kind of makes me nervous that you never finish. I hope they do more complete Crumb style stuff with other people.
There's so much of his work out there that it's intimidating to even try and collect it. So I kind of limit myself because it's the Silver Age Marvel and the Golden Age Marvel. My pockets aren't deep enough.
Oh, yeah. I can't afford that stuff.
I can't afford that stuff either unless they're super low-grade copies. But the 70s DC stuff, which in a lot of ways I prefer because it's weirder.
Well, he put more effort into that because he was had free reign.
Right.
He had the New Gods. He had Jimmy Olsen, which I still can't believe was a popular book.
Right.
One of our friends has a Kirby jacket of every character he ever created, which is the most covered jacket I've seen.
He was at the show in Brooklyn, and somebody said, "I'll give you any book on my wall for that jacket."
He's like, "Nah, man, I put too much effort into it." He has. He's still not done, and he's been collecting since we were 13.
Right.
We're in our 40s.
Right. We're talking about Chris, right?
Yeah, Chris, yeah. Because even when he mentioned he was missing 2 or 3 books here and there, I was like, wow. And it wasn't key books. It's just finding decent size, decent shape books like Jimmy Olsen 130.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who knew?
I think this has unofficially become our Kirby episode.
Well, yeah, because we're just filling in.
So let's keep it up.
All right.
So, Mike, what's your favorite Kirby title?
Oh, it has to be Mr. Miracle.
All right. Yeah, you got the tattoo and everything.
Yeah, I have a tattoo of Mr. Miracle on my leg. But to read wise, I find a lot of his books corny. And they're fun corny. I love Jimmy Olsen's book. Mm-hmm. The Demon is the best one.
I love the Demon.
Demon's one of the best. But then you get some of them like OMAC, which I'm like, this is dumb, but it's
fun. See, OMAC... Okay, now we gotta fight. I love OMAC. Really? It's so bizarre. It's completely bizarre. That first page of the first issue, where the woman is in the box in multiple parts, my good friend Dan saw that page and is scarred for life. He brings it up. Every time I see him, he brings it up.
They make that the cover of the Kirby edition.
Did they?
Yeah, it's right next to you if you want to look at it.
The collected one?
Yeah, it's awesome. The white one and with all the colorful ones.
Oh, yeah.
But the one that I find the most interesting...
Oh, that's weird. It is right on the cover.
It's right on the cover. The one that I find the most interesting because it gives you potential was the Challengers of the Unknown.
Okay, so I've only read a handful of those, which I found in like, I want to say they were like 70s, maybe early 80s DC 100-pager reprints that I pulled out of dollar bins over the years. So I'm not super frefamiliar with them, but like what I read, I enjoyed.
I think it's excellent. But you see what he could have went with the Fantastic Four. Fantastic, like Challenge of Unknown is more terrestrial.
Okay.
Like Earth and like all that stuff, Mole Man, villains like that. And then I realized the Fantastic Four is his cosmic books.
Right.
And you feel like he wrote 2 different sets of books that he had ideas for, so it's kind of cool.
Okay.
But it's all that team effort stuff. And then the New Gods, like it's hard not to like the New Gods. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the idea that 2 warring planets will trade their suns for peace. And Darkseid's son is Orion, who's raised by, oh my god, I forgot who's the All-Father, or High-Father, on Earth. And then Calabac is his son, who's raised by Darkseid, and he has a miserable life. And,
yeah, Darkseid's probably a crappy dad.
Oh, totally, man, totally. I say this with a Darkseid statue standing over my head. But the fact that that's the kind of idea that he got from, like a lot of his stuff he talks about, he got from the Bible and the Old Testament, New Testament.
Yep.
Like Galactus, the villain from Fantastic Four, he got from there as like an all-powerful being that you must destroy, that can destroy your world. And he talks about it in really odd 70s interviews. What's another one that you... Which book... Do you like any of the retcons nowadays from all his DC work? Like, OMAC is now part of the DC universe.
I haven't read any of it.
Oh, the New 52 introduced me to it because they retconned it as Batman taking OMAC and making it into a world watcher. Okay. And then it later becomes, like... That was the whole point of 52, which was like a early 2000s.
Right, yeah, they retconned everything.
Yeah, and then the Demon was later retconned into what is my current favorite books is Seven Soldiers of Victory, because you have like Clarion, the Witch Boy, and all that stuff is all from Demon.
So at the Brooklyn show, I pulled out issues. Clarion, they did the 4-issue miniseries. I pulled out 2, 3, and 4. Nice. So I'm waiting to find an issue 1 before I read it.
The covers are phenomenal.
Yeah, they're cool. I like the character.
The character's great.
See, I only know the character from the 70s Demon books. I don't know what else has been done with him. Like, I know there was the 80s Demon, or maybe it was 90s Demon series that Garth Ennis wrote. Did they bring him back in that at all?
No. To be honest, I didn't even bother reading them because Seven Soldiers of Victory is written by Grant Morrison, and the artwork's phenomenal. What really lured people in was the Frankenstein Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I read
Agent
that
of Shade.
Yep.
But it starts off with Frankenstein there, and it also the Zatanna books, which Ryan Sook does the artwork, and he's phenomenal. It's what lures you in.
Right.
And then I love Seven Soldiers. And I love that. I know it's going to be a story now because they're doing Creature Commandos. It's like an animated film.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. But you can see all the Kirby artwork on there. Steve Ditko and a lot of stuff too, because it's all early. What's another Kirby book that you've picked up lately, other than the Commandy books you picked up from?
Well, that was what I was going to ask, was if you'd read any of the Commandy stuff yet.
I got Volume 1. I haven't had a chance to look at it. A lot of Planet of the Apes influence on that.
Huge. Yes, huge. I don't want to say he ripped it off, but he might have ripped it off a little bit.
But also, or vice versa.
Yeah, no, I think this came after Planet of the Apes, I think. Yeah. But I mean, he put his own spin on it, for sure.
Well, you know what the funny part is? Planet of the Apes is, we talk about this a lot in the podcast, is the gorilla effect on comics. Turns out if you put a gorilla in any comic, people will love it. That's why Flash has Gorilla Grodd.
Yep.
But also the late 60s DC books all have like a month of 8 books.
Yeah.
And the fact that, what year did Planet of the Apes come out? Like 66?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, so it was around the same time, and that was huge. And if you talk about the fandom for Planet of the Apes, rivals Lord of the Rings sometimes.
It's pretty big.
Yeah. And they love the new series and all that stuff. And I haven't even watched all of them, but I know they're good.
Marvel's got a new Planet of the Apes series coming out, I think, next month.
But who's writing it?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. It depends on the writer. Sometimes they throw anybody at that shit.
They're now branding the Alien titles they've been doing, the Predator titles they're doing, and the new Planet of the Apes series as like a 20th Century Fox line.
That's cool. I'm getting the new Aliens Epic Collection because I love Aliens.
It's good. I was picking up the single issues. It's pretty solid.
I like all the new stuff, but I want it to be coherent. And what I don't like about the Aliens is that like sometimes it's like, all right, it has a different title, but it's coming out at the same time. I'm like, who wrote this? I'm lost.
Yeah.
Or the artwork is a little bit off.
Well, and it's Marvel being Marvel, so like instead of just having an ongoing series that lasts an infinite amount of issues, they just every 6 issues, when the storyline changes, they start over with a new number 1.
That's true. That's true. They got to cut that shit out.
Well, in their defense, that's what Dark Horse did.
Yeah, but Dark Horse did it over time. It wasn't like 6 months and stop. It was like let's say 3 Predator series over 4 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It wasn't a monthly. You're right. It wasn't. Anyway, back to Kirby.
Oh, sorry.
No. It's all good. Have you read either Silver Star or Captain Victory?
I bought both of them, and I bought another one that a Black Bolt ripoff. It was a young lady on the cover. I bought all of those recently. I haven't read them yet.
What's the Black Bolt ripoff?
It's Black something. I forget, but it looks so cool because I love. One of my big fears, like that I can't help it, is that I would get too many Kirby tattoos. And one of them I love is Black Bolt with the wings spanned out.
Right.
For some reason, I find that very attractive, and I find that like something I really want. And having a woman character like that really is awesome. But that's also my addiction to Stingray and all these weird Avengers villains.
But where did this?
Same company that put out the Captain Victory. It's Tops.
So it's Pacific.
Tops.
All right. We're talking about So Pacific put out Captain Victory and Silver Star in the 80s.
Gotcha.
And then in the 90s, Tops brought it back.
This is where I got it from Tops.
I don't have the Tops books.
We'll get them downstairs. They're all piled up.
Yeah, I have the Pacific Comics ones.
Yeah, one is called Bombast.
Yes.
Yeah, I have that one. I try to find.
There was Satan 6.
I didn't get that one. That sounds great.
That's the first appearance of Jason Voorhees in comics.
I need that.
In Satan 6 number 4.
So stupid.
Yeah, I don't even think Kirby had much of a hand in a lot of the Topps books. Like, I know he did covers for a lot of them, and he created the characters.
It was towards the end of his career.
It was towards the end of his career, and a lot of interesting people like pitched in on those books.
I can imagine.
Yeah, because they wanted to be affiliated with him and they wanted to help him out.
Of course. This is the guy who built your universe.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a comic book industry without the guy.
Marvel, and then he fixed up a lot of DC's crap. Because, what I find great about him is that he didn't do big books in DC. He didn't do Justice League. He was like, I'll do whatever else.
Right.
And which I love. Because Carmine Infantino did a great Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
Gil Kane did a great Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need it, but he did New Gods, Jimmy Olsen, random books. Neil Adams started doing Superman, and you start seeing how do I say flavor in every book, a different flavor for different books. So you don't have I realized in Marvel, with the exception of Spider-Man, which turns out Kirby had a big hand in creating, did not know that, is everything's Kirby. Yeah. Everything's Kirby's artwork.
Yeah.
And he tries to change it up, but then he realizes, Jesus Christ, one man drew this all. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
No, we all, anybody with even a passing interest in comic books obviously owes him a debt.
Yeah.
And Stan Lee gets a lot more credit, and I don't think that's right.
No, not at all.
Not to take away from what Stan did. He's obviously super important too, but I think because Stan was out there as the face of Marvel.
Yeah.
And Jack wasn't.
Yeah.
And maybe because Jack started fighting for creators' rights and wanting his original artwork back, and maybe ruffled a few feathers. And, good on Neil Adams for helping make that happen.
100%. Because he got Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster a pension.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Comic books, the funny part is, the way you said it about Dingbat, he wanted more people of color to be involved in the book. Because he's writing about...
that was for Soul Love, not for Dingbat.
No. I'm using Dingbat the book.
Okay.
I'm just saying that it talks about it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
This is a guy who had a very open mind.
Right.
This is a man who legitimately fought Nazis. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'll never get over the line when somebody said that when he came out with Captain America 1 with Joe Simon, that Nazis would call up to the office and be like, "Oh, we're waiting to beat you up." He's like, "Oh, I'll be right down."
Yeah.
Yeah. And he'd come down and they'd be gone. And he was like, he goes, "You stand up to bullies."
There was a show in Queens about maybe a year and a half ago that I went to, and Jesse Simon, Joe Simon's grandson, was there and spoke about that particular incident.
Oh, no joke.
Yeah.
A lot of people give Joe Simon, Joe Simon's grandson Jesse, why he won't sell more of his grandfather's stuff. I said, the stuff he has is rare already.
Yeah, it's priceless.
It's priceless. Yeah. If you're selling that, you're not going to find another one, because these are the books that were destroyed back in the day.
It also has to have immense sentimental value to the guy.
Of course, it's your grandfather.
Yeah.
I'll send you, since we're talking about Joe Simon, I'll send you a photo of me and Joe Simon from New York Comic Con 2.
Okay.
From 13 years ago, wow. 14 years ago. My friend was his lawyer.
Oh, wow.
Small world.
Yeah.
Kirby is always going to be king. And that's the funny part is, and then I'm going to bring up something that may annoy some people, so I apologize now. I'm excited for the Fantastic Four movie that's coming out.
I don't think anyone needs to be annoyed by that.
No, the annoying part is that you hear people that are mad that they're going to let the actor who's playing the Thing, they want him to be like, because Kirby's based on, Thing is based on Kirby.
Right.
That they're going to have a Jewish actor play him.
The Thing is a Jewish character.
Oh, why is this becoming racism? I said, are you kidding me? This is Jack Kirby incarnate. Why? First of all, it's going to be 90% CGI.
It's going to be 100% CGI.
The fact that it's probably going to be the guy from How I Met Your Mother. Did you ever watch Forgetting Sarah Marshall or any of those films?
I know Forgetting Sarah Marshall, yeah.
The guy who's starting the one who he's going to play
Jason Segel?
Jason Segel.
Huh.
Yeah, and the fact that he's playing Ben Grimm brings me great joy. One of my favorite actors in movies. He's just corny. It's great.
He might be able to pull that off.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. That's what kills me when people get mad. I'm like, you're just looking for hate. I am going to bring up something that, before we end the episode, that I thought was funny. It's easier to hate in comics than anything else. But what killed me is I watched a podcast I watched a live stream of gatekeepers, comic book gatekeepers who are like, make Marvel mail again type crap.
Oh, yeah.
And then they brought one of the dudes from the Proud Boys on, and all he did was bully them on the show and call them losers. But he said something that made me laugh. He said the funniest thing. He goes, you guys get mad for a black character in comics. Have you ever been to New York City and Midtown Comics? Or any of these stores? Mm-hmm. The audience is black. Yeah. People of color. Yeah. Where are you getting your weird gatekeeper ideas? And this is a dude that people hate is pointing out to them how dumb they are. Enjoy comics.
So the Proud Boy was pointing this out?
Yes. The creator of the Proud Boy, the guy from Vice. I don't want to say his name. But he was like...
I know his name.
Yeah. But he goes, you do notice that. He goes, what are you guys talking about? Because hate makes money. And you should not have to.
Gavin McInnes was on a live stream talking about comic books?
Yes. And all he did was dunk on how much losers they were for one, being gatekeepers, two, being dudes who were complaining about stuff like this. And this is a guy I don't like.
No, is he changing his tune now or something?
No, he was just it was just an opportunity for a bully to pick on nerds.
Okay, so he's still a piece of crap.
Bingo.
Okay.
But it was the kind of nerds that you're like, you deserve this. Mm-hmm. You brought this on. You're trying to appease somebody who's a bully. He goes, that's why if you ever came to our shows, we are a couple of jocks that do shows. But you feel welcome. You're here with us. We're together in life.
I'm not a jock at all.
I am. But I also realized that I'm also, what do they call that? When you're kind of like an angry little dude.
I think angry little dude is the correct term.
I think that's Kirbyism. I call it Kirbyism, but still. But at the same time, I love you for what you're into. I want you to be here because you feel welcome.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's people out there that think comics should not be like that don't understand comics.
No.
You never read a comic. You're full of shit. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about Kirby. Is he wanted creators to have their own rights for books, own all their stuff, because that's your effort.
And he also wanted to make books to appeal to more than just white superhero guys. Soul Love kind of proves that. He was exploring avenues to get to specifically black audience with that product, and okay, it didn't get out, but that wasn't through any fault of his own. He finished a bunch of the stories, did a bunch of work, and now it's finally out there. Obviously, he's passed and isn't around to take any pride in it, but the fact that it exists in the first place and that it was done over 50 years ago.
Yeah, I can't believe it, because I'm closer to 50 than I thought when you said that.
Yeah, I round up.
Oh, wow. Wowza. But the fact that he created all this stuff, and he loves all this stuff, and then you realize that the comic books are for everyone. We're all a fraternity of ink and paper. Mm-hmm. Just enjoy it. Go check out the films if you get a chance to. I don't know if you saw the Ant-Man movie. I didn't get a chance to. I'm very excited.
You know what? It'll hit Disney Plus, and I'll get to it at some point. I don't care about most of the superhero movies. It's not that I don't enjoy them. When I put them on, I'm like, oh, these are fun. My stepson likes them, so it's a good excuse to sit on the couch with him for 2 hours and hang out.
That's cool.
I get more into the TV shows than I do.
Yeah, I'm not into TV shows. Yeah. I Star Wars stuff I'm into, but movies I like the popcorn experience, I call it.
Yeah, and you go to the theater and you get the big screen and the big sound, and that's great. But at the same time, I've got a 60-inch TV and a 5.1 set up in my apartment.
That's true. So, you're a movie buff, so that's hands down.
The last time I went to a theater, this is going way off topic. The last time I went to a theater was for It 2. Just pre-COVID. I haven't been to a theater since COVID.
Oh wow!
And the movie was starting, and there was a teenage gal on her cell phone FaceTiming with somebody. And it's dark. And so her screen is lighting up the 10 seats around her. And I, to be fair to myself, very politely said, sorry, the movie's starting. Would you mind, taking that outside or ending the call. Her response, "Fuck you, old man."
Wow.
And I was like, why do I want to pay $20 to get in here and deal with this type of nonsense? You know, the ushers don't care. They're not kicking anybody out. No. To get cussed out by somebody when I can wait till the Blu-ray comes out and I can get it for $15-20. I can drink a beer, sit around in my underwear, and not have to deal with teenagers on cell phones.
Yeah.
That was the end of my old man rant.
You'd probably love Alamo then.
Mm-hmm.
Or Nighthawk. You ever been to Nighthawk?
Actually, I have. You know what? I have been to the movies since then, and that was at Alamo.
Yeah, but Alamo's a different experience. I'm a Nighthawk guy.
Yeah, I haven't been to Nighthawk. Alamo does a good job.
Oh my god, date night, bro. We're going, me and you.
All right.
Nighthawk is my first experience in one of those films.
I know where it is. I follow them, and they show interesting stuff.
Oh, excellent. We used to do VHS shows. Mm-hmm. We're going to go together.
All right.
One day we're going to do a VHS show.
All right.
I would like to talk about VHS. We'll do a whole podcast about them, and we'll bring some VHS guys. You want to hear some real weirdos? Right there. This is a comic book experience. We went to go see Blade in the theaters. I saw it in Ridgewood Theater. Ridgewood Theater is the oldest movie theater in New York that now is a Blink Fitness or something like that.
Okay.
But when I was a kid, like the Three Stooges played there. That's how old it is. It's an old German-style theater that, like, we were watching Gangs in New York, and I was like, yeah, I've been in this. And then you look around, you're like, oh, crap, this is the theater. You know, it's just similarly made.
Right.
So we saw Blade, and I went with, and I grew up in, I'm not going to say, I grew up in, like, a hood neighborhood. Like, I grew up with, like, some tough guys and all that stuff, but we all loved comics.
Yeah.
That was the bond. That was the ultimate bond. So I went with there, and you actually met him, Bernie, one of the guys who works with us.
Okay.
Me and Bernie, this is how long ago this is, like, that movie came out in the 90s.
Yep.
Me, Bernie, all this stuff were sitting up. This is when cell phones just came out. Some guys on the cell phone, Bernie was like, yo, man, can you turn that off? And the guy would just ignore him, so Bernie kicked him in the head and knocked the guy out. And then everybody just started clapping around because it's a packed theater. This is Wesley Snipes and, like, Blade, so it's excellent. But the funny part is the security over there was really hardcore because it's, we're Bushwick, Brooklyn, Ridgewood, Queens. It's a tough neighborhood. Back then, especially. So security was kicking people out there, like arguing, fighting, get out, and the security guards look like bouncers from a nightclub. And then at one point, you see a flashlight from one guy he kicked out. Like, he puts a flashlight on us. He's like, yo, you don't think I see you? And we looked to the side, we're like, what we do? I was like, oh, Bernie, he's bringing us in. He's like, oh, now. And he turned around, it's the guy he kicked out from earlier in the roads, and he had, like, a long trench coat to see Blade, and he ran out. He screamed and ran out. He was like, oh, my God, Butter Knife just ran out. And I died laughing. Go to movies with your friends, but it stinks when stuff like that happens. Yeah. You don't want to get off the phone. And, call you an old man. I would have uppercut.
Well, and what am I going to do? Start yelling at a teenage girl?
Yeah.
That's not going to go over well.
Yeah, totally
I'm stuck. So
I understand, but let's stick to Alamo and, like, the other one.
Uh-huh.
At least if you're paying for a seat, at least you get a beer with it.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I don't get it. I love popcorn flicks, but I do go on odd times to watch it. But I guess we're going to end it up on that one.
Well, one more question, though. So we're going to finish with some Kirby again. So have you
going.
ever done the walking tour?
Which one?
The Jack Kirby walking tour.
No.
So I think the last 2 years in a row, the Jack Kirby, I guess it's through the museum or whatever association it is that, like, his family runs in honor of him and his work. They do a walking tour of the Lower East Side. And they show you, like, the tenement building that he grew up in and some of the places that he lived and some of the places that he worked at when he was young. And it's free. And, last year, for whatever reason, I had planned on going, and I didn't because something had come up. And the year before that, it might have been canceled for COVID. I don't remember. Mm-hmm. But it's something that they do. And, I would assume that they do it again this summer. And if they do, we should
I'm there.
Yeah, all we got to do is just get on the train and go downtown. So
90% of me going to Mocha is actually just to go talk to the guys from the Kirby Museum because they're just so nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Them and Mike Mignola.
Right.
You know what I mean? And meet other people, but, like, 90% is because the museum is such great people and you see some oddball shirts and great artwork. And they had it last year, they had an exhibit and they made the celestial heads that you could put on.
Oh, from Eternals?
Yeah. But the comic book accurate one, not the. I'm a little bit oddballed by some of the, like, really skinny alien ones they have for the Celestials. I'm not a fan.
No,
I like them chunky.
Thick and chunky. Yep.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That
just like the best kind of peanut butter.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm also like I said, I'm a fat dude, so I love it. But, like, I don't like that skinny alien idea for the, like, Celestials. To me are like these.
They should be kind of beefy and
like Ed McGuinness came up with him at one point. You know what I mean? Everybody's jacked to the gills. Even the skinniest person's jacked.
Yeah.
Let's do it. You follow a lot of stuff I need to follow. Man.
Yeah, and it's on. If you follow the Kirby Twitter account, they promote it a couple of weeks ahead of time when it starts. So.
Oh, and if you want to go with us, we'll all go together. Any fans want to come, hit us up on Twitter or on Instagram. We'll go together.
Definitely, yeah. We should post about it too. Like when it gets closer to the date, if we're going to go do it, and we should promote it on our social channels too, just to see who else wants to come on.
1,000,000%, man. Yep. I'm down.
Yep. All right. Well, that was our unofficial Kirby episode.
Yeah. Oh, and there's also a podcast that you guys can check out that friends of ours called Jack Kirby, where each episode is just about Kirby, and they do one about just one issue. I was a little bit amazed by that, but there's so much material. I think they're up to the hundreds in their show.
Oh, they're not going to run out anytime soon.
Not anytime soon.
Thousands of books to go through.
Great artists, great guys, and there's such from New Yorkers that you feel like Kirby's in the room with you.
That's funny. And you know what? Before we close off, I would to go back to when I was talking to Scott the other day on the last episode. We talked about just people being able to crank out pages, artists being able to crank out work so fast. And Scott mentioned that it takes him forever to do just a single page. That's why his book's coming out like annually, basically, or every 6 months maybe if he gets lucky. Whereas Kirby was able to crank out like 4 or 5 pages a day, and they were all good.
Yeah. What's crazy is that he would just sit hunched over this one because they have it in the museum. They have this drawing board, and I find that amazing. And he took that place everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because he moved to California for a while, right? It went with him. Yeah.
The older you get, the more you want to be relaxed and you want to be with his kids. I love Kirby. You know what? I am going to get another Kirby tattoo.
You should. You got like a whole full
I got a whole empty arm here. I'm doing nothing. Originally, I was going to get Silver Surfer over here, but it's hard to color it in silver.
Yeah, it's just going to look white.
Yeah. Well, I hope the white sticks.
Yeah. Gray.
I'm going to get that too and probably in the front something else. But let's see. Because the Thing is also my dude, and I relate to that character a lot.
I got white on my tattoo, and it's...
Oh, it came out right.
It's sort of fading. That's 15 years old, but anyway, people can't see that.
Oh, yeah. One day we'll do a video podcast once we're finished with this big-ass room. But, yeah, we're going to end it on that note. We'll see you next time for the next show, and follow us on all social media.
Yep. We are at Queen's Comic Podcast on Instagram, and if you want more details about the show, we're at Queen's Comic Party on Instagram, and you can always go to queenscomicparty.com, where you'll find the show archive and details on upcoming events.
Yeah, and if you look at any of your comic shops over the next couple of weeks, you'll always see a flyer for our shows and posters for the podcast.
At least in the cool shops.
The best of the best.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Bye.